Ray Kroc, the man who transformed a small hamburger shop of the two McDonald brothers into a global fast food empire, is often praised as an icon of stupendous success. However, behind the glory of the Golden Arches brand was a long, arduous journey full of failures, bitterness, and challenges that seemed capable of knocking anyone down. The story of Ray Kroc is not the story of a lucky young genius, but an epic of perseverance, patience, and the iron will of a middle-aged man walking through the storms of life to seek his destiny at an age when most people have already thought about retirement. Raymond Albert Kroc was born on October 5, 1902, in Oak Park, Illinois, into a Czech immigrant family of modest circumstances. From an early age, life trained him to have a hard-working nature and a desire to make money. Unlike other children of his age who spent time on education and play, Kroc had to try his hand at all kinds of part-time jobs, from selling lemonade to working at a grocery store to playing the piano at local clubs. The first major turning point and challenge in Kroc's life was associated with the Lily Tulip Cup Co., a paper cup manufacturing company. For over a decade, Kroc was a diligent salesman, traveling across the roads of America to convince stores and restaurants to buy paper cups. This job required an astonishing mental endurance. He had to face hundreds of rejections every week, long trips away from family, and a meager commission salary. However, it was precisely in this harsh environment that Kroc's sales skills and ability to understand customer psychology were honed to mastery. By the late 1930s, when he was nearing middle age, Kroc met Earl Prince, the man who invented a milk mixer called the multi-mixer, which could mix 4 milkshakes at the same time. Seeing the huge potential of this machine, Kroc made a bold decision, giving up his stable job at the paper cup company to become the exclusive national distributor for the multi-mixer product. To acquire this business right, Kroc had to borrow a large sum of money, mortgage his assets, and enter a new adventure full of risks. For nearly the next 15 years, Ray Kroc's life was a series of days tied to his car and dusty roads. He drove by himself from state to state, knocking on the doors of every ice cream parlor and beverage shop to pitch the milk mixer. The real challenge hit in the early 1950s. As consumer trends changed, Americans began to leave traditional downtown beverage shops to move to the suburbs. Multi-mixer sales plummeted severely. Even more terrifyingly, competitors began to launch cheaper, more convenient lines of mixers. At the age of 54, Ray Kroc realized that he was standing on the brink of bankruptcy. His health declined seriously, with arthritis, gout, and a partially removed thyroid gland. His family fell into destitution, and his marriage to his first wife, Ethel Fleming, fractured deeply because she could no longer bear the precarious life of a visionary husband. In 1954, in the midst of his deepest despair, Kroc noticed a strange order. A small restaurant in San Bernardino, California, ordered 8 multi-mixers at the same time. This meant they could make 40 milkshakes at once. Curious and seeing a glimmer of hope, Kroc drove the long distance to California himself to witness it with his own eyes. Here, he met the two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald. What Kroc saw completely changed his life. It was not an ordinary restaurant, but an extremely optimized hamburger production line. The menu was streamlined to just a few items: hamburgers, French fries, soft drinks. Food was served within just 30 seconds, and the prices were astonishingly cheap. Kroc immediately realized that this was the future of the American food industry. He proposed to the McDonald brothers to allow him to act as a franchise agent to expand this model nationwide. The McDonald brothers, who were conservative and satisfied with their current life, agreed, but under extremely strict conditions. The contract that Ray Kroc signed with the McDonald brothers in 1954 was later considered one of the biggest and most unfair barriers he had to overcome. According to the contract, Kroc was only allowed to collect 2.9% of the revenue from the franchise stores. Out of that 2.9%, he had to share 0.5% back to the McDonald brothers. Kroc was not allowed to change anything in the store's design, menu, or processes without the written consent of the two McDonald brothers. With this meager percentage, Kroc had almost no profit after deducting operating, advertising, and management expenses. This contract bound Kroc for many years, pushing him into an ironic situation. McDonald's stores popped up like mushrooms. They brought in millions of dollars in revenue for the store owners and the McDonald brothers, while the founder of the franchise system himself, Ray Kroc, was deeply indebted. To open his first McDonald's store in Des Plaines, Illinois in 1955, Kroc had to borrow from everywhere and mortgage his only house. Initial revenue was very good, but due to the constraints of the contract with the McDonald brothers, Kroc's franchise company did not have enough cash flow to pay employee salaries, let alone expand. There were times when Kroc could not pay himself a salary. He had to work an extra job playing the piano at night to have money for food. The bank constantly threatened to foreclose on his house, and creditors chased him every day. His wife, Ethel, completely opposed this project. She thought her husband had lost his mind when at age 50 he mortgaged his house to invest in a burger joint. The lack of understanding and support from his life partner was a heavy blow to Kroc's spirit. He had to fight alone in a cramped, smoke-filled office, facing work pressure of up to 18 hours a day in absolute emotional isolation. This relationship eventually ended in a bitter divorce in 1961, causing Ray Kroc to lose most of his accumulated wealth at that time. The biggest and most heartbreaking challenge for Kroc was the deepening rift with Richard and Maurice McDonald. Kroc was a man of macro vision who wanted to standardize everything to expand the brand. Conversely, the McDonald brothers just wanted to keep everything on a small, safe, and quality scale in the traditional way. Every time Kroc wanted to introduce an innovation, for example using dry milkshake powder to save electricity costs for refrigerators, which was a huge expense for stores at that time, the McDonald brothers immediately refused bluntly via phone or mail. Kroc felt like a mother who carried and gave birth to a child but had its fate decided by others. Frustration and resentment built up year after year, turning the initial partnership into a highly tense legal and psychological battle. By 1956, McDonald's fell into such financial exhaustion that Ray Kroc could no longer pay the salary of his loyal secretary. In the midst of the enveloping darkness, Harry Sonborn, a financial expert, appeared and showed Ray Kroc a harsh truth that was the life-saving key. "Ray, you're not in the food business, you're in the real estate business." Sonborn outlined a genius strategy. Kroc founded the Franchise Realty Corp. This company would proceed to buy or lease long-term the plots of land where McDonald's stores were planned to open. After that, Kroc would sublease both the land and the store to the franchise owners at a higher price. This strategy freed Kroc from the 1.9% trap of the original contract. By controlling the real estate, Kroc not only gained a stable, huge source of income to reinvest, but also possessed absolute power to force store owners to strictly comply with McDonald's hygiene and service standards. This was the crucial turning point that helped McDonald's escape the quagmire of bankruptcy and begin to take off. Despite solving the financial puzzle, the relationship between Kroc and the McDonald brothers could no longer be salvaged. Kroc could not bear having the growth of the empire held back by two men sitting in California. In 1961, Ray Kroc made a decisive choice, buying out the entire ownership of the McDonald's brand from the two brothers, Richard and Maurice. The McDonald brothers demanded an exorbitant price at that time, $2.7 million USD in cash, equivalent to about 25 to 30 million USD today. For Kroc at that time, 2.7 million USD was an unimaginable figure. He once again had to scramble and borrow from investment funds at extremely high interest rates to have enough cash to pay the two brothers. However, the bitterness did not stop there. During the negotiations, the McDonald brothers refused to hand over their original store in San Bernardino, which was renamed the Big M at this time. Feeling deeply betrayed and insulted, Ray Kroc, after gaining ownership of the brand, launched a devastating retaliation. He opened a new, large, modern McDonald's store right across from the McDonald brothers' original store in San Bernardino. With the power of the brand and the supply chain, Kroc's store choked and forced the brothers' original store to close completely after a short period. This battle left a big scar in Kroc's heart. He was criticized by a segment of the public as a cold-blooded man, a thief of the true founder's credit. But to Kroc, it was a battle for survival, where the weak and the conservative would be crushed by the laws of the market. After taking full control, Ray Kroc faced the challenge of maintaining uniform quality across thousands of stores. To realize this, he founded Hamburger University in 1961 in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. This was where store owners and managers had to undergo scientific training courses on how to operate a fast food restaurant. Kroc elevated making hamburgers from a manual job into a precise science. Even when he had become a billionaire, Ray Kroc never stopped working and never stopped worrying. He frequently inspected stores himself without prior notice. He did not hesitate to pick up trash in the parking lot, bend down to wipe stains off the floor, or stand for hours to observe the attitude of the employees. This obsession with perfection cost him his physical health and peace of mind. In his final years, Ray Kroc had to use a wheelchair due to complications from a stroke and severe arthritis. Even so, his office at the McDonald's headquarters in Oak Brook, Illinois was always lit. He monitored store revenues daily via computer and still gave sharp advice to the next generation of leadership. On January 14, 1984, Ray Kroc passed away from heart failure in a hospital in San Diego, California, at the age of 81. At the time of his death, McDonald's had more than 7,500 stores in 31 countries and territories, serving millions of meals every day. When looking back at the turbulent life of Ray Kroc, people realize that his genius did not lie in inventing the hamburger or the fast food production line. Those things belonged to the McDonald brothers. Kroc's genius lay in his ability to endure adversity and his absolute perseverance. The life of Ray Kroc is a powerful testament showing that it is never too late to start and no challenge is too big if a person possesses an iron will and an unquenchable faith in their goal. He crossed the age of 50 empty-handed and a body full of disease, but left this world as the man who reshaped the culinary culture of an entire era.